Okay, so here you just need to work on your language here. The theme of identity perception is used as a well as a common theme as see the protagonist rely on her mentor. You just need to rewrite that, all right, because it's not clear. Using this as an example doesn't quite work. Even though it's got the word voices in the title of the film, it doesn't mean that it's similar to your film. Have a look at the trailer because it looks like this might be a comedy horror as opposed to a thriller film. You said horror, but this is not, I'm not too sure about this. This doesn't look quite right. Have a look at the trailer. Look at other trailers which are based on people who are affected by their state of mind, psychosis. Doesn't have to have the word voice, the name voices in it. It can be just a thriller where people are driven by their voices that they hear. Explain what questions that they're left asking. And what questions did you leave them asking, and what questions would they want to answer? How did you make the voices come alive? Because you haven't explained that. Just here, or come to life. Also, you're doing a lot of breaking down of characters. I want to actually let me. Okay, so here you said that staircases are common in most genres. They're not. I think you're thinking of old thriller films. So just to change that bit. Can you do some research into why stairs are used in thriller films as opposed to, because this doesn't ring true at all actually. So go and do some research into why stairs are used in thriller films. This last bit makes sense. Please delete this bit. Yeah, this bit where you talked about suspense, but take out the sense of realism. This question actually, this is a very, very strong level 4 answer, so you've done really well here. So now we're back onto this question. This isn't a stereotype of white people. Okay. White characters are not usually the first to die. It's usually black characters that are the first to die in films. What you did reinforce was that white characters tend to be the lead characters, either victims or heroes or lead protagonists, but they're not usually the first to die. Okay, so you just need to rewrite this. You said, rather than talking about race, maybe talk about age. Because you've talked about, what did you talk about in here? You talked about gender. I think age is a bit more of a focus for you here about youth, but this whole thing is not quite clear. No, just take it out because it's not true. You said that kidnapped for this reason we have constructed this character is an innocent way, for example, having a backpack as a prop, which would emphasize that she's a student and could be younger and innocent than the killer. You just make sure that this is written properly. Read it out loud to yourself and make sure you correct all your mistakes, your grammatical errors. Also, as followed in Lovely Bones, the young girl is killed by the male. I'm not too sure why you said that. It doesn't link to your idea, because yours has nothing to do with being killed by a male. Okay, so here. I think you're struggling with race in terms of representation. Because this is too much of a singular stereotype. Obviously, you've got black stereotypes, and you've got a range of them. She doesn't look harmless. She actually looks quite sinister. Because she's behind this character, so she doesn't look harmless at all. And I think if you're gonna refer to race and representation of race, then she's not represented as a harmless character. She's represented as quite sinister, and you've put her there, and that reinforces stereotypes of black people being represented in a negative way in films, is what you could say. Right. So, need to be rescuing the males are seen to be aggressive, dominant, and brave. They also portrayed most likely serial killers. So who? You talk about men, so you can say rather than males, just say men. So men are portrayed as being serial killers, but you've challenged that. You can say you've challenged this idea. Chosen to dress her in dark colours, also setting her apart from other females in society are used to seeing. No, this is just that's not too simplistic. The whole thing of dark colours is to represent the darkness within her. This whole thing about she doesn't look feminine. Modern femininity is a bit different. So I just rethink this. You wanted to represent her. You use clothing to represent her and represent her darkness. That's why she's wearing dark colours. Just take out this feminine image business. I think you could join girl teenagers with this, because yes, moody, that's correct. Isolated is the kind of like not a common stereotype. They're usually quite represented as quite sociable actually. Criminals, no, not so much. Young men are represented as criminals, young women not so much. Okay, especially teenage girls. You could think this whole thing about teenagers being led by their emotions could be a stereotype that you've reinforced. So you wanted to highlight. How did you highlight the fact that these were teenagers? How did I know they were teenagers? Because obviously they're teenagers, teenage actresses. But how have you emphasised the fact that they're teenagers in your clip? You know, the thing with the backpack, the hoodie, these stereotypical teenage clothings that you've got. You could talk about. Don't say thrillers nowadays are based around an older age. That's not good English. Just say thrillers today. You can't say they're based around. You maybe talk about lead characters. Give me examples of this. If you're saying that thrillers today have young people as victims, give me some examples here. You want to promote not the genre. You wanted to promote your film. Not promote it, you wanted to show and highlight, emphasize that your film is for young people, not adults. And film as it may be relatable. I'm not too sure about that either. This whole thing of people dying and being killed is not a very relatable topic. Focus, you don't need to talk about your audience, okay? You can simply focus on the representation of teenagers. Your audience doesn't really matter here. Focus on the teenagers.